Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive.
It's great to be here.
Today, we're going to do a deep dive into something that's absolutely essential if you're involved in the world of startups or even growing businesses.
Sounds good to me.
It is cap tables.
Oh, yeah, cap tables.
Yeah, I think, a lot of people hear cap tables and their eyes kind of glaze over.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that sounds like a bunch of, legalese and financial stuff.
It's intimidating, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Because a cap table is really just like a story.
Yeah.
It's a story of a company's journey.
It really is. Yeah, it's like a history book in a way.
Exactly. And it's told through the lens of ownership.
Right.
So who owns what piece of the pie,
Mm-hmm.
and how did that ownership change over time? And that's why it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because whether you're a founder, an investor, an employee with stock options, understanding the cap table can really empower you.
It's powerful stuff.
So let's break this down.
Okay.
Imagine you're an investor and you're looking at this really promising startup.
All right.
And you're thinking, wow, this could be the next big thing.
Yeah.
But how do you really know what you're getting into?
How do you assess that potential?
That's where the cap table comes in.
Yeah, that's where the due diligence comes in.
Exactly, because the cap table lays it all out.
Yeah.
It shows you the ownership breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Who owns what percentage, what kind of shares they have.
Right. And how they got those shares.
Exactly. So it's like a map
Yeah.
of the company's ownership structure.
It is a map, absolutely. And it's a map that evolves over time.
Right. It's not just a snapshot.
Exactly.
It tracks the entire history of investments from the initial founding
Right.
to, every subsequent funding round.
Every time money comes in or goes out, the cap table is updated.
So you can see how ownership has changed.
Yeah.
Who benefited from each investment,
Mm-hmm.
and what that means for the company's future.
That's right. And it can get pretty complex because not all shares are created equal.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned different kinds of shares.
Yes, different kinds of
It's
shares.
more than just slicing a pie, isn't it?
It's a little bit more than that. You've got your ordinary shares, which are your most common type of shares.
Okay.
And then you have preferred shares, which often come with special rights for investors. So like maybe they get paid out first in certain situations, or they have more voting power, things like that.
Right.
And then you have things like employee stock options, which give employees the right to buy shares in the future, potentially at a discounted price.
So it can get pretty intricate.
It's important to understand the different types of shares and how they affect the overall ownership structure.
So if I'm looking at a cap table for the first time,
Right.
where do I even begin?
Okay, we'll start with the basics. Who are the shareholders?
Okay.
What percentage of ownership does each one have?
Right.
What types of shares do they hold? Those are the first things you want to look at.
Okay. And then what about the dates of investments and the share prices?
Yes, absolutely, because that gives you a historical perspective.
Okay.
You can see how the company has been valued over time,
I see.
how much money they raised in each round,
Right.
and how that affected the ownership percentages.
And this brings us to the concept of dilution,
Ah, yes, dilution.
which sounds a little bit scary.
It can be a little bit scary, but it's an important concept to understand.
Okay, because I'm thinking if the pie is getting bigger,
Right,
but my slice is getting smaller,
exactly.
that's dilution, right?
That's dilution in a nutshell. As a company raises more money, they typically issue more shares, which means that the percentage ownership of the existing shareholders gets a little bit smaller.
Right.
So their stake is diluted.
Okay, and so the cap table helps you track this.
Absolutely. The cap table shows you exactly how much dilution has happened over time and who's been affected.
So it's really about transparency.
Transparency is key. A well-maintained cap table shows you exactly how a company is being financed
Okay.
and how that financing impacts the ownership structure.
So it's a tool for accountability
Absolutely.
and informed decision-making.
Informed decision-making, that's what it's all about.
This is making me realize that creating and managing a cap table
Right?
is probably not just like scribbling some notes on a napkin.
It's a little more than that.
It sounds like a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility, and it's more crucial than many people realize.
Yeah.
It's not just about the numbers. It's about the legal documents, the agreements,
Right.
the shares themselves. All of that needs to be managed carefully.
So where does this administrative side of things come in?
Well, we've talked about shares and ownership,
Right.
but those shares are represented by share certificates,
Yeah.
which need to be issued and tracked meticulously.
I see.
Then you have your articles of incorporation, shareholder agreements,
Right.
all these legal frameworks that really underpin the cap table.
So we're talking about a whole system for managing equity,
It's a system, absolutely.
not just updating a spreadsheet.
Not just a spreadsheet. No, it's much more than that.
So what are some practical steps involved in making sure this is done right?
Well, it all starts with diligence and organization.
Okay.
You need a really secure system for storing and managing all these documents, whether it's specialized software or meticulously organized physical files.
Right.
But it's more than just filing things away. You really need to ensure that every share transaction, from issuances to transfers to repurchases, it's all properly documented and reflected on the cap table.
I bet that's where it could get really messy.
It can, especially as a company grows.
Yeah.
And there are more people involved and more transactions happening.
And that's just the internal part, right?
That's just the internal part. Then you have the external side.
Okay.
The relationship with the shareholders themselves.
Oh, right. So there's a human element to this too.
Absolutely. You can't forget about the people.
That's not just about paperwork.
It's about communication.
Right.
Building relationships.
Making sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Keeping those shareholders informed about the company's progress, managing their expectations.
Right.
Ensuring that they have access to up-to-date information about the company's performance.
That's got to be more than just like an annual report, right?
Oh, yeah. This is ongoing proactive communication.
Okay.
Think regular updates.
Okay.
Clear communication channels, maybe even an online platform where shareholders can access relevant information and engage with the company.
So it's about building trust.
Trust is essential.
And transparency.
And transparency goes hand in hand with that.
And this all ties back to the cap table.
Absolutely, because a well-managed cap table is a reflection of that transparency.
Okay.
It shows that you're organized, you value your shareholders,
right,
and you're committed to keeping them in the loop.
And this is especially important for investors.
Right. Investors especially. They need to know what's going on.
Okay, so let's talk about reporting.
All right, reporting.
What kind of reporting are we talking about here?
Well, investors need more than just a snapshot of their ownership.
Okay.
They need to see how their investment is performing, how the company is using its funds.
Yeah.
What are the long-term projections? So this might involve providing regular financial statements.
Okay.
Detailed cap table reports that track ownership changes.
Okay.
Potentially even personalized dashboards that give investors a clear view of their stake in the company.
So a cap table can almost be like a window into the soul of a company.
That's a great way to put it.
It's not just the financials, it's how the company treats its stakeholders.
Exactly. It's about the values of the transparency, the commitment to communication.
And that's why understanding a cap table is so crucial.
Absolutely.
Whether you're an investor, a founder, an employee.
It's a powerful tool.
Because it gives you the insights you need.
For making informed decisions.
To navigate this complex world.
The complex world of business ownership.
Of business ownership.
That's right.
Wow. This has been really eye-opening.
It's a fascinating topic.
It is. And there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Absolutely. It's clear that a cap table is more than just a spreadsheet.
It's a living document.
It's a living document.
It reflects the story.
It reflects the story.
The structure.
The structure.
Ultimately, the success of a company.
The success of a company.
Yeah.
And we've only just scratched the surface, haven't we?
We've just begun.
There's so much more to explore.
Yeah.
Welcome back to our deep dive into cap tables. In the last part, we talked about how a cap table is like a financial decoder ring. Yeah. You know, it reveals the ownership structure of a company. But it's not just about understanding the numbers, right?
It's not just about the numbers.
No. There's this whole process of managing all of this.
The administrative side of things.
Exactly, the administrative side.
It's crucial.
Yeah, so let's break this down.
Okay.
What are some of the key administrative tasks involved in keeping a cap table squeaky clean?
Well, think of it like building a house.
Okay.
You need a strong foundation, right?
And for a cap table, that foundation is the legal documentation.
The legal stuff.
The legal stuff. Yeah, everything starts with those core documents.
Okay.
Articles of incorporation, shareholder agreements, any agreements related to investments. These aren't just pieces of paper.
Right.
They're the legal bedrock
Okay.
that defines ownership rights, responsibilities.
So making sure those documents are in order is step one?
Step one, absolutely.
Okay, what comes next?
Well, you need a meticulous system for managing share transactions.
Okay.
Every time shares are issued, transferred, repurchased,
Right.
those actions need to be documented and reflected accurately on the cap table.
Okay.
Easy to overlook this in the early stages when you're just getting started, but as your company grows the volume of these transactions,
Yeah.
it can become significant.
Things could get messy.
It can get messy very quickly if you're not careful.
Right.
And that's just the internal part.
Okay.
You also have to manage the relationship with the shareholders themselves.
Right, because a cap table isn't just a spreadsheet. It's about real people who have invested in your company.
That's right. It's about people, their money, their trust.
Yeah.
So keeping those shareholders informed about the company's progress, managing their expectations, ensuring they have access to accurate and up-to-date information that's crucial.
So it's about communication.
Communication is key.
And transparency.
Transparency goes hand in hand with that.
It's not just sending out like an annual report once a year.
No. This is ongoing proactive communication.
Okay.
Think regular updates, clear communication channels, maybe even an online platform where shareholders can access relevant information, engage with the company.
This makes me think about the importance of trust.
Trust is paramount.
And transparency.
Absolutely, especially when it comes to things like investor relations.
Oh yeah, big time.
A well-managed cap table. It's a cornerstone of good investor relations.
Okay.
It demonstrates that you're organized, that you value their investment, that you're committed to keeping them in the loop.
So what are some practical tips for ensuring this level of transparency and communication with shareholders?
Well, it starts with setting clear expectations from the beginning.
Okay.
When you bring on new investors, make sure they understand how you manage your cap table.
Right.
What kind of reporting they can expect.
So lay out the ground rules early on.
Lay out the ground rules. That's right. Transparency from day one.
What about the actual process of communicating with shareholders?
Regular updates are key.
Okay.
Think quarterly reports, newsletters, maybe even investor calls where you can discuss the company's progress, answer questions.
I imagine having a secure online platform where shareholders can access key documents and information would be helpful too.
Absolutely. A centralized hub where everything is accessible.
Makes sense.
Streamlines the process, makes it easier for shareholders to stay informed.
And what about just like personalized communication?
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate the value of that personal touch.
Okay.
Taking the time to connect with investors individually, even if it's just a quick email, to follow up on a question or concern. Can make a big difference.
It's not just about like broadcasting information.
It's not just broadcasting.
It's about building those relationships.
It's about building relationships, fostering trust.
Okay, and this brings us to another crucial aspect of cap table management.
And that is?
Reporting.
Reporting, yeah.
Investors want to know where their money's going.
They do. They need to see how their investment is performing, how their ownership is evolving, what the company's financial projections are.
Well, we touched on this a little bit in the last part.
We did.
But let's explore this a little bit further.
Okay.
What are some of the key reports that investors typically expect to see?
Well, at a minimum, they'll expect regular financial statements, balance sheets, income statements. They'll also want detailed cap table reports that clearly show the current ownership structure, any changes in ownership since the last report, how their own stake has been impacted.
They want the full picture, not just a snapshot.
They want the full picture, absolutely. And depending on the company and the investor, there might be requests for more specialized reports, valuation reports, scenario analyses, things like that.
So you've got to be prepared.
You have to be prepared.
To provide all this information.
To provide clear, accurate, and timely information.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to juggle.
It sounds like managing a cap table effectively requires wearing a lot of different hats.
It does. You're part legal expert, part accountant. Part relationship manager. It's a multifaceted role, but it's absolutely critical to a company's success.
I'm sure technology can help with this.
Technology, yes. That's where technology can really come in handy.
So the last part we touched on cap table management software. Tell us a little bit more about how these tools can simplify this whole process.
Well, there's a wide range of software solutions out there. From simple spreadsheet templates to more sophisticated platforms. And these tools, they can automate a lot of the manual tasks associated with cap table management.
So things like tracking ownership changes. Calculating dilutions, generating reports.
All of that can be automated.
It's like having a virtual assistant.
It's like having a virtual assistant helping you stay organized on top of things.
I like it.
And beyond the automation, these tools, they can enhance accuracy, reduce the risk of human error, provide valuable insights into your company's equity structure.
I see.
They can help you model different scenarios, forecast potential outcomes, even identify potential red flags or areas for improvement.
That's a game changer.
It can be, especially as a company grows, things become more complex.
Yeah, when you've got more investors, more employees.
More moving parts.
More moving parts.
Yeah.
It's essential to have a system that can keep up with all of that.
And there's one more aspect of cap table management that we haven't really touched on yet.
And that is
Security.
Security, yes. That's arguably the most important aspect.
Right. We're talking about sensitive financial data here.
We're sensitive data about your company's ownership investor details.
Right.
Employee compensation. All of that needs to be protected with the utmost care.
What are some of the key security considerations when it comes to cap table management?
Well, first and foremost, choose your tools wisely.
Okay.
If you're using software, make sure it offers robust security features.
Okay.
Encryption, secure data storage, strong access controls.
Makes sense.
If you're managing things manually, be sure to store your documents in a secure location. Limit access to authorized personnel only.
Sounds like common sense.
It is common sense.
But I'm sure it's easy to overlook. It's easy to overlook when you're in the thick of things, just trying to grow your business.
Right. You're focused on other things.
You focus on the product, the market, all of that.
Right.
But security can't be an afterthought.
And it's not just about the technology.
It's not just about the technology.
It's about the people.
It's about the processes.
Right.
So make sure everyone involved in managing your cap table understands the importance of confidentiality.
Oh, yeah.
Follows proper security protocols.
Right.
Regularly review your security procedures.
Okay.
Update your passwords. Stay informed about potential vulnerabilities.
It's like creating a culture of security.
It is creating a culture of security, not just relying on technology to do it for you.
So this all ties back to trust and transparency.
It all ties back to trust when your shareholders know that their information is safe.
Right.
Secure. It reinforces their trust in you.
And in your company.
And in your company, exactly.
This has been great.
It's a lot to cover.
It is.
But it's important stuff.
It's really important stuff.
Yeah.
Managing a cap table is not just about crunching numbers.
It's not just about the numbers.
It's about building a system.
It's about building a system
that ensures accuracy,
transparency,
security,
all of those things.
Build trust.
And ultimately, that trust is what makes a company successful.
Absolutely. A company built on trust is a company that's built to last.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent the last two parts really getting into the nitty-gritty of cap tables.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have from the basic structure to, all those administrative details.
Why, hell, important stuff.
That keep things running smoothly.
Absolutely.
But now I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about how a cap table can actually be used as a strategic tool.
Ah, yes, the strategic side of things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've talked about the numbers.
Right.
We've talked about the legalities. But how can a cap table actually help a company grow and succeed? That's where it gets really interesting, because a cap table, it's not just a static record of who owns what.
Right.
It's a dynamic tool.
Okay.
That you can use to model different scenarios.
Okay.
Make more informed decisions about the future of your company.
So give me an example.
Okay, sure.
Let's say I'm a founder.
All right.
And I'm thinking about raising another round of funding.
Okay. A classic startup scenario.
How can my cap table help me with that?
Well, your cap table can be your best friend when it comes to fundraising.
Okay.
First of all, it helps you understand your current ownership structure.
Okay.
How much equity you have to work with.
Right.
How much you're willing to give up.
To get that funding.
To achieve your funding goals, exactly.
It's about finding that balance, right?
It is. It's a delicate balance.
Between attracting investors and not giving away too much control of your company.
Exactly. You don't want to dilute yourself too much.
Right.
But you need to offer enough to make it attractive to investors.
So the cap table can help you find that sweet spot.
You can actually use it to run simulations.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. Let's say you want to raise $5 million.
Yeah.
You can model different scenarios on your cap table.
Okay.
What happens if you give up 10% equity versus 20%?
I see.
How does that impact the ownership percentages of your existing shareholders?
Right.
What about different valuations?
Right.
The cap table allows you to play out all these different possibilities.
Wow. It's like a what-if tool.
It is. It's a powerful what-if tool. It gives you the power to make data-driven decisions.
That's amazing.
Rather than just relying on your gut feeling.
So you're not just flying blind.
Exactly. You have the data to back up your decisions.
And you can model different types of funding instruments too, right?
Absolutely. You can compare convertible notes versus equity financing.
Right.
See which option might be more beneficial in the long run.
So a cap table can really empower founders.
It can.
To approach fundraising strategically.
Strategically and from a position of knowledge. It is. And that same strategic thinking applies to planning your exit strategy.
Oh, right. The exit strategy.
Whether that's an IPO, an acquisition, even a buyback.
Because every founder is thinking about that.
Right? Of course, ultimately you want to see a return on your investment.
Yeah. So how does the cap table help with that?
Well, by understanding your cap table, you can model different exit scenarios.
I see.
And see how they would impact your shareholders.
Including myself.
Including yourself, exactly.
So I could see, how much each shareholder would receive.
Right, based on their ownership percentage.
Right.
The sale price of the company.
Okay.
You can also assess the impact of dilution from previous funding rounds.
Right, because that all comes into play.
It all factors in. Maybe you realize that taking on a little bit more dilution early on would actually lead to a bigger payout for everyone down the road.
That's fascinating.
It is. It's all about understanding the long-term implications of your decisions.
It's like a roadmap.
It's a roadmap for your company's journey.
Guiding you through every stage.
From the early days all the way to a successful exit.
And it's not just about the financial aspects either, right?
That's right. There's more to it than just the numbers.
Because you were saying something about how a cap table can impact company culture?
Ah, yes, the cultural impact of a cap table.
I wouldn't have immediately made that connection.
It might seem a little counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But think about it.
Okay.
When employees have a clear understanding of the company's ownership structure.
Right.
How their contributions can lead to equity ownership.
Okay.
It creates a powerful sense of ownership.
They feel like they're part of something bigger.
Exactly. They're not just working for a paycheck.
Right.
They're invested in the success of the company.
And that can be really motivating.
It's incredibly motivating, and it can lead to better performance.
So it's not just about the founders and the investors.
It's about everyone.
It's about the entire team.
The entire team working together towards a common goal.
And a cap table can help with that.
By using your cap table to communicate transparently about equity compensation,
right,
stock options, the potential for future upside, you create a culture of transparency, fairness,
shared success.
Shared success.
Exactly. Everyone's in it together.
It's like everyone's rowing in the same direction.
That's a perfect analogy. Everyone's rowing in the same direction towards a successful future.
This has been incredible.
It's been a journey.
It has. Cap table is so much more than I ever thought.
It's more than just a financial document.
It's a strategic tool.
It is.
A communication tool.
Absolutely.
A cultural tool.
All of those things.
It's amazing.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
Understanding your cap table. It's not just about crunching numbers.
It's about the story behind those numbers.
Exactly. It's about understanding the journey, the decisions, the people that have shaped your company.
And using that story to build a better, more successful company.
Precisely so. Whether you're a seasoned investor.
Yeah. A first-time founder. Or just someone who's curious about the world of startups.
All right.
Take the time to understand cap tables.
It's worth it.
It's an investment that will pay off in countless ways.
Couldn't agree more.
So that's it for our cap table deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time on the deep dive.